Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. On Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social handle that he was labeling Nigeria a country of particular concern over what he believes is a killing of Christians. On Saturday, he said again on his social media handle that he has directed the Department of War to prepare for possible action in Nigeria. In President Trump's words, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities, adding, if we attack, it will be fast, vicious and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians, warning the Nigerian government better move fast. Trump's Secretary of Defense, now known as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, responded to his commander-in-chief with a yes, sir. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria and anywhere must end immediately. The Department of War is preparing for action. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians or we will kill the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Now, in reaction, the special advisor to Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu on policy communication, Daniel Bwala, said to news media Reuters that the country welcomes U.S. assistance in fighting Islamist insurgents as long as it recognizes our territorial integrity. Now, it follows a statement released by spokesperson to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebi Ebienfa, saying the federal government of Nigeria notes the recent remarks by U.S. President Donald Trump alleging large-scale killings of Christians in Nigeria and calling for the country's designation as a country of particular concern. These claims do not reflect the situation on the ground. Nigerians of all faiths have long lived, worked and worshipped together peacefully. And that Nigeria, of course, will continue to engage constructively with the government of the United States to deepen mutual understanding and regional dynamics, the country's ongoing peace and security efforts. The issue has drawn varying degrees of responses from analysts and policymakers, some praising the U.S. government for noticing the carnage by terrorist groups in Nigeria, and others who say that the U.S. government does not understand the situation on the ground. Well, I have joining me two analysts, international relations experts, Dr. Adeyi Omale, and senior lecturer in criminology and policing at Teesside University in the UK, Dr. Tarela Ike. Lady and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
I want us to begin with President Donald Trump's latest outburst on the issue of Christian killings in Nigeria. In the last few hours, the president has posted on his Truth Social handle, he says, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. A warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. I want us to unpack this, Dr. Tarela, as well as Dr. Adeyi. First off, the U.S. will go into that now disgraced country. I'm picking on President Trump's words now. Nigeria is not a disgraced country, but do you think that this is just a perception by the U.S. president, or it's a general perception about Nigeria?
It's a perception, though it's debatable, but there are so many things happening in this country today that tend to give credence to what Trump and the U.S. Congress is saying. And definitely Nigeria has continued to pull its weight happening within the country, give a lot of people cause for concern, and also the international community. Things like banditry, kidnapping, general insecurity, farmer-sellers clashes, and so on. These have continued to give Nigerians and even into the international community a lot of cause to worry. The killing, the level of killing, the level of of destruction of various communities and so on. Those are the issues that I think the President Trump has raised, and they are very, very important issue, especially when it comes to issue of security. And like many international analysts have continued to say, it is not even just Nigeria alone. The entire Sahel region, you see the level of destruction that is being wreaked by these jihadist elements. So it's really a very, it's a wake-up call to the Nigerian government. It's also a wake-up call to the security agencies, so that these killings and this jihadist activity of terrorists should be checked. For a very long time, we have treated the issue with kid gloves. We have treated the issues with a lot of levity. The type of force, the type of intelligence, the type of coordinated attack that the Nigerian government is supposed to carry out on these terrorist activities have not been as decisive as it should be. And for more than 10 years, you see the Boko Haram are still there. They have not been completely degraded. So I think with what is happening now, that we have been declared a country, we have been declared that the Americans have declared Nigeria a country of particular concern, I think it is a wake-up call both to the government and to our security agencies, and even to the entire Nigerians.
Dr. Adoyi Omale, we will be coming into Trump's reference to Nigeria as a country of particular concern, but I'm talking about the U.S. president's latest comment, which is what I read out, where he threatens that the U.S. will invade Nigeria. Dr. Tarela, we're still unpacking this statement by the U.S. president on Truth Social. He also says that he will come guns a-blazing. Could that be tantamount to troop invasion into Nigeria, something reminiscent of what the U.S. government did with Iraq when they tried to get Saddam Hussein off the seat of power because they accused him of stockpiling weapons of mass destruction? And what do you think this could result into? Does this sound like the U.S. wants to go to war with Nigeria?
I'll be quite reluctant to interpret that statement like in a very broad term. I think in my understanding, what President Donald Trump is trying to do is to make Nigerians, especially the government, a form of a wake-up call, like what my colleague have just said, to the issues that are currently ongoing in Nigeria. And again, I want to say that I know you raised the point about Nigeria being a disgraced country. I don't think so. I think Nigeria is a great country, and I really want to commend the government for all that they're doing. However, what this does bring to the limelight is the need for the governments to intensify whatever measures that they're doing to address the situation. In my understanding, I know that to some extent, these issues of insecurity affects not just the Christians, but also the Muslims. So everyone are currently facing the situation in the country. So it's more about that wake-up call to address the issues of the ongoing banditry, the ongoing insecurity within the country, to ensure that all lives are safeguarded. I think that's what the key message I could draw on it from. It's all about.
Yes, and so he's continued to designate Nigeria a country of particular concern, which is what Dr. Omale was speaking about. Dr. Omale, I know that we cannot deny that there's been a lot of terrorist activity in Nigeria, especially in the northeast and the north central, as well as the northwest. Sometimes they're of a religious nature, other times with no connotations. Do you think that President Donald Trump is lumping these terrorist activities, these attacks on communities in northern Nigeria, with the fact that Christians and Christian communities have been also attacked by these terrorists? Dr. Omale.
Yeah, before I answer this particular question, I want to just comment briefly on the earlier question. It would be very, very wrong for America to attack Nigeria as a sovereign entity. It's against international law. that would be interfering in Nigeria international affairs. But America has every right to pressurize as a very important member of the international community to draw the Nigerian government attention to issues that border on human rights, that border on religious freedom. Definitely they have a right to do that, but to carry out a wholesale invasion of Nigeria, I don't think that will be acceptable. The United Nations recognize the responsibility to protect, and I don't think it has gotten to that, but it has not reached the level where the Americans are supposed to deploy troops to come in the name of responsibility to protect. Moreover, the United Nations Security Council is supposed to authorize such responsibility to protect operations which the Americans cannot unilaterally embark upon. Designating Nigeria as a country of concern is not totally out of place, considering the various atrocities and the various killings that have been going on in parts of the country. Ordinarily, it is the duty of a government to secure its citizens, but it is the failure of successive government. It's not about the current Nigerian government. It's about years of killing. For example, in the 90s, Gideon Akaluka was murdered in Kanu and his head paraded on the streets of Kanu. In 2022, even before the current government, Deborah Samuel was murdered in Sokoto, the student of Sokoto College of Education, and several other persons. The case of Leah Sharibu, who is still being held captive because of her faith, and several other cases that can be cited. We are talking about a whole community. Recently, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited Yelwata in Benue State to commiserate with a whole community that 300 people were slaughtered in herdsmen. And so those are the issues that are of concern.
I cannot really say for certain that the Trump administration is lumping all the data together. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm not privy to the information that he's relying on. So for example, if you look at his truth handle, President Trump did quote some figures that appears to suggest that some 3,100 Christians has been killed in the country. However, he did not state the source of the data he was relying on, nor did he say the time frame that it was accumulating when it comes to the 3,100 Christians. Certain if the administration is lumping all of this data together, because as we understand, both Christians and Muslims have been affected by the ongoing insecurity within the country, and we might not necessarily be privy to the data that they have, which as an ordinary citizen, we might not have. So that's why it's quite hard to determine if it's been lumped together, considering the ongoing terrorist attack, banditry, and all the other forms of insecurity going on within the country.
Right. The federal government has reacted to the designation by the Trump administration, saying religious freedoms have not been impeded in Nigeria. This is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It also says the designation does not reflect the true scale of the situation on ground. A statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also says the Tinubu administration remains committed to fighting terrorism, strengthening interfaith harmony, and protecting the lives and rights of all people. What do you make of this response, Dr. Ike?
So like I said, first of all, I would like to commend the government for the work done so far in addressing insecurity. However, it seems to appear that more needs to be done in this regard, especially as it relates to safeguarding all Nigerians, safeguarding the lives of all Nigeria. So for me, I think it's more of a case of constructively engaging with the US government to sort of enhance that mutual understanding. What is the current security reality in Nigeria? Because they may have information that we don't have. And we do know that there are some agencies that are, whose mandate are to ensure that lives and properties are safeguarded in Nigeria. So for example, we have the police, the DSS, and other security parastatals. They may have information about the ongoing, for example, security issues within the country that should be a priority. And then they may have cogent informations that are not publicly available. So for me, I think the response that the Nigerian government gave is laudable. It's just enhancing whatever measures that they are using to make sure that it's felt on the ground level that lives are secured regardless of religious affiliation. Thank you.
We'll take a short break now. Diplomatic Channel will be right back. And back to my conversation now with international affairs analyst Dr. Ade Omale and security analyst Dr. Tarela Ike. I want to point out here that Saudi Arabia is also on this CPC list, and yet it has not affected relations with the United States, at least not under President Trump. He was given a kingly welcome when he visited Saudi Arabia back in May. China is also on this list. Just a few days ago, President Trump met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and both agreed to call off mutual escalations in the trade war between them. But my point is that relations between the United States and these countries really has been based on the perception of power and strength. Do you think that could also carry for Nigeria? Perhaps if the country grew its status, I guess, on the international scene, do you think that the U.S. president would be, be imposing these threats against Nigeria and having leaders responding left, right, and center?
What I'll say, in my opinion, is that I think Nigeria is important, especially considering that Nigeria is the most populous Black nation and it's got rich mineral resources. It's an emerging economy and has a lot to offer from an economic perspective. But what I want to say, it's about the safeguarding of human lives. I think that's what the US is trying to draw out in terms of, although they sort of made it within the context of Christians, but the point here is that aspect of the incessant killings that are going on within the country and how that could be curbed. I understand the government is doing its best, and like my colleague rightly said, it's just a call to enjoin the government to do even better, to use that moment as a self-reflection, to look at their counterterrorism strategies, their security strategies, and how best to harness this in such a way that lives are not being lost on a monthly or weekly basis for no just cause. So to me, it's more about that safeguarding of human life, and that is why we encourage, once again, the Nigerian government to bolster its current strategy and also to protect lives and properties within the context of Nigeria. So while the government might be making these good efforts to address the situation, it's just a case of communicating how this has been done, giving us concrete evidence to show that they're really tackling the situation from the grassroots level. And I think that's what is really important, and not necessarily, of course, I do know the economic aspect is important, being a country of status and power is important. But for me, I think this is the most integral aspect, safeguarding human lives and showing with concrete evidence that this is what is being done at the grassroots level.
Yeah, but why do you think this is a problem for President Trump and it wasn't a problem for President Biden when he was in power?
Again, this might depend, but what I would say to that is the frequency of these attacks. So initially, let's take Kwara State as an example. I don't think Kwara State was in the limelight in the last 3, 4, 5 years, but now we're beginning to see a spread to Kwara State, and that is a cause for concern. So again, I think it's more about looking at how the government is adopting security strategies to address the problem really, as opposed to, because human life is important regardless of whichever administration is in power. And like my colleague rightly suggested, this situation has been ongoing way before President Tinubu came into power. So for me, it's more about that reflection on our counterterrorism strategies as a country and how best we can tackle this from the grassroots level. That is what should be, in my opinion, should be the concern, as opposed to whether or not different administrations look at the situation in a different way. The core question should be, are we still seeing the loss of lives, and what is the government really doing about the situation? So I believe the government is doing something. It's just, again, bolstering that effort to reduce this to the barest minimum. Yeah.
Dr. Male, Dr. Mallet, sorry.
To answer that question,
some of these strategies are going to take time. I mean, the strategies that Dr. K is talking about, they will take time to, begin to be for the impact to be felt. But the U.S. president ends his address, his statement to Nigeria by saying the Nigerian government better move fast. What do you think he means by that? And then how can we, develop more impactful strategies for Nigeria? What do you think this means anyway?
Well, the American president has said it all. Nigerian government should move fast. And indeed, they should move very fast because the terrorists are having free will to operate at will. And it's not good enough. The Nigerian government should take decisive steps to ensure that they are all rooted out. One of the first strategy, at times, there have been allegations that most of the terrorists are not Nigerians, that they are coming in from foreign countries to come and perpetrate this act. Our borders must be secured to ensure that terrorists do not cross over into the country, because we have a very porous border. Also, they should be able to, if they say they are headsmen, the headsmen are supposed to be properly profiled so that we know those that are genuine and those that are coming in with AK-47 and other weapons to unleash mayhem on the people. So I think the strategies are very, very clear. And there should be emergency response to protect communities that have been attacked by these terrorists. On your earlier question, Trump has not hidden his desire to protect Christians anywhere in the world, including Nigeria and other parts of the world. So, and that is the policy that he has decided to pursue, which he's entitled to.
I think you're right when you say it is a very important topic for the U.S. President Donald Trump. I remember when he first became president, when Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari paid that visit to him at the White House. This was what was important to President Trump. The killing of Christians in Nigeria, that was what was more important to him than anything else. But knowing President Trump, things could go from 10 or from 0 to 100. He's responded, he's noted and commented on the issue twice in 2 days. So it's very likely that, there could be a decision this week against Nigeria. So what do you think, Dr. Male, could come next in U.S.-Nigeria relations?
Yes, earlier on we said that the Nigerian government should move quickly to reassure the U.S. and the international community of government's commitment to stamping out terrorism in Nigeria and protecting minority groups, especially in the north, against these incessant killings. I think with that assurance, the Americans will give Nigeria a breather and will likely and also solicit for the support of the international community to tackling this menace. I think that is the way for Nigeria to go. I do not foresee America taking military action immediately.
But what do you think the U.S. could do, to further drive home this point that Nigeria really does need to take action? Because President Trump really isn't joking about these things. We've seen him move. I mean, he's currently interfering in some issue with Venezuela, trying his best, I would say, to topple the Maduro government. We've also seen him, try to step into, other situations. He organized, the attacks on Iran on behalf of Israel and the rest of that. So when President Trump talks like this, he really isn't bluffing, if he says he's going to do something. What do you think the U.S. reaction to Nigeria could be?
I think military option will be the last among the various options. I think the military option will be the last. There are a wide range of options which to me could be avoided. There could be sanctions, there could be withhold of foreign aids, there could be trade withhold of some trade, bilateral trade negotiations or bilateral trade agreements and so on.
Yeah, to add to that, I definitely agree that it appears the military options might be the last resort. But again, it does have some implications if the US chose to proceed with what they're going to show. It could lead to, for example, the notification of Congress to impose what is often termed non-economic policy options. And the whole idea behind this option is to sort of make the government to, for example, increase its ongoing safeguarding of lives within the country. But if these options have been exhausted, then an economic measures could be imposed. And like Dr. Omole rightly said, so there could be public condemnation, or there could be restriction or withdrawal of development assistance within the country. There could even be a blockade of exportation licenses, which could have impact in Nigeria, considering that a significant portion of our income is from oil revenue. And all of these measures could be put in place as a result of, or what I would describe as the implications of war.
Thank you so much, both of you, Dr. Adoye Omale and Dr. Tarela Ike, for joining me on this conversation. It's been a tough one to be had, not only with the, the connectivity issues we've been having with Dr. Omale, but I guess also having to enter into the mind of the U.S. president to determine what exactly this means, and also trying to get into the mind of Nigeria's leaders to determine what the response should be. Thank you both so much for joining me on this conversation.
Thank you, Amarachi. Thank you. Thank you.
That's our show for today. Let us know what you make of the U.S. president's threat to Nigeria and how Nigeria should respond using any of the social media handles showing on your screen, or leave a message in the comment section under this video on YouTube. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Thanks for watching.